What's up, everybody, and welcome back to Tide Talk. It's Sunday, July 13th, and you've got a couple bad apples, as some might say, for this one. It's two Mats, one pod, and we're here to try and digest RIFC's 1-0 road USL Championship loss in Indy. Just a reminder, each episode is available on YouTube, and if you're watching now, please take a second to subscribe to our channel and click the like button on this video. You can also find us on your favorite podcast applications like Spotify and Apple Podcasts. And if you listen on one of those, we'd really appreciate it if you took a minute to leave us a 5-star rating and a short review, as it helps more people find Tide Talk. One last plug, if you're not already, go check out the RIFC Club Collector app and enter the code TIDETALK25, all lowercase, all one word, to get an exclusive pack added to your collection today. So cozy up, crack a beer, or whatever Matt Hans has got going on here. And let's dive into this one. Happy Sunday to you, my fellow Matt. We should also mention that no Andrews were harmed in the making of this one, as there are plenty of Andrews and Matts in the RIFC community. Yeah. But the Matts won out for this one, and we'll do our best to try to break down that 1-0 loss. But how was your Sunday, my friend?
Yeah, pretty good. Pretty chill. Which is good. Needed after a awful night last night, obviously, which we're going to get to. But yeah, pretty chill.
Jason says whatever that was, it was not a crack. What do we got? What are we drinking tonight, Mr. Hans?
It's soju. It's Korean apple mango soju. It was in my fridge, and I grabbed it.
What's the ABV on that bad boy?
It's 12.
12? All right, pretty good. We're going to do things a little bit in reverse order tonight, as I think a lot of people had a lot of opinions on that. So we're actually going to start with listener takes on this one. But before I get to those, Matt, who had a worse night, RIFC in Indy or Timmy Sclafani in California with his 15 mosh pit stitches?
Yeah, pretty good debate. Pretty debatable. Might be a debate for like a Matt Jean space. But yeah, I think Timmy, getting beat up like that, man. 15 stitches, chin opened up.
Wow. If there was one Tide Talk personality you were told went to a concert and got 15 stitches, where would Timmy rank on that for you? Would it be pretty high or pretty low?
Probably pretty low. I mean, me knowing Timmy, I kind of actually would expect it, but knowing the music he listens to and all that stuff. But yeah, no, probably personality-wise, though, yeah, I would say probably last.
Right, I just picture Timmy as that chill guy, kind of standing, watching the wall of death take shape, and of just watching, sipping a beer. But him getting involved and getting cracked is pretty comical. So if you are friends with Timmy on any of the socials, reach out to him, check in on him. He was taking selfies all bloodied up in a porta potty late last night, and it was a sight to see for sore eyes, I guess. But like I mentioned, we're going to start in reverse on this one. So we'll start in the Defiant 1636 Discord with some of your takes, your RAFC in 3, and your good, bad, and the ugly. We're going to start with Sarah, who had her RAFC in 3. What was that? Her good was finally seeing Hugo play. His little run was the only seeming effort run in the game. Bad was losing to Indy, who also looked a mess. Ugly, the team looked like they just don't give a fuck. No one seems to care. Our good friend Leo had his good, Hugo finally getting minutes, a pretty common thread in some of these takes. His bad was haphazard passing and interplay, especially as the game went on. Ugly was lack of clear style and turning back to tactics we've seen do not work. His RAFC in 3 is the spaghetti isn't sticking. Matt, you wrote your Riptide Report blog, so if you haven't already, make sure you go check that out. Taris had his good, JJ and Hugo finally getting back in. Bad, everything else. RAFC in 3, I don't know. I like that. That's a good potential episode title winner in there. Your RIFC in 3, Matt, was figure it out. Taris had a question that we'll get back to a little bit later on. And Ryan had his good was the Hugo debut. Bad, we had all the midfielders out there, but zero control of this one. What happened to our dominant midfield at the end of last season? Ugly, we look completely lost as a team. There's no identity and no plan for this team on the pitch to be able to actually win the game. RFC in 3, stranded at sea. Taris also came back with an RFC in 3 with SOS. Mike M took a very comical approach. RFC in 3, red hot socks. Good 1-0 is what I picked for a score. good 8-game winning streak. Great Garrett Crochet with a complete game shutout. Like Mike twisting it there. Tim Sheldon had his RIFC in 3 with Get It Together. Mike Howard had RAFC in 3. Offense looks slightly less hopeless in the last 15, 20 minutes. Why don't we play like that for the whole game? His bad was tons of turnovers on easy passes. Hella sirens going on. I'm sorry. On easy passes, looking at you, Rovera. Him trying to clear that line late in the game was an interesting thing, and I'm sure we'll get to that a little bit later on. Ugly corner kicks galore and still no big man connections. And his RFC in 3 was Obi-Wan JJ, nod to the Star Wars night that was at the IUPUI Stadium there. Lisa V, her good was quoting a dude at the watch party, Hugo's too good for this league. Bad, everyone looked lost out there. Everyone. Ugly, set pieces again. In 3, onto Hartford. Larius had good, finally getting to see Hugo, class. Bad, the formation, we just looked lost against a worse defense, and we created nothing. Ugly, why even bother with a set piece? We lack any imagination, just hoof the ball anywhere. In 3, everything must change. So thank you to everyone who wrote into the Defiance 1636 Discord. We put out those posts after each and every match, and love sharing your takes. We'll switch over to Instagram with Booth Hill Brewing's good. The game wasn't at home, so the team couldn't get booed off the field. That's pretty true. Bad, completely disjointed performance. Ugly, quickly headed to the bottom of the table. And Taris added that was something for an RFC in 3. And finally on Facebook, Dom Lindbergh, our good friend, said this team does everything wrong. And Christopher Peterson added intercepted in Indy, very poor passing. So a lot of good takes, and thank you to everyone who joined in on that one and who comments. And then if you're new to Tide Talk, just look for those posts. You can follow us at Tide Talk RI on all of our socials and share your takes, and we'll read them on air after each and every match, good, bad, ugly, or indifferent. But any kind of big storylines you take from that, Matt?
The people aren't happy, which is true. The right way to be. Just overall awful performance. We'll get to it. I know with the lineup and everything, I'm sure soon, and I think that was a major factor. But everyone's right to be frustrated. So
sure,
that's the main takeaway.
Let's start with that lineup that you mentioned there, Matt. Nice segue. Jackson Lee and Net, Nodarse, Mabika, Yao, Hope Gun, Quizera, Holstad, Ibarra, Shapiro Thompson, Maxi Rodriguez, Noah Fuzon. What did you make of this when you first saw it?
Yeah, I was really confused, perplexed even. Gotta get some words in there.
And I guess before you even elaborate even further, It's also worth noting that both Chico and JJ Williams on the bench for this one, so no true out and out striker to start.
Yeah, and that was my thing is I don't like I always put a caveat in there. If unless we know, there are things we don't know. So unless it's possible Decoy had something going on or couldn't play a full, we don't know the full story. But assuming that there wasn't anything that we don't know about, I just don't understand not starting him in this game. I don't get it. Maxi and Noah are playing further forward, particularly Maxi, and then having Noah as a striker. This doesn't work. In the last couple of weeks, there was a lot of talk about post game from I think Kano and definitely from Dave McKay, assistant coach, after the Portland game of them wanting Maxi to be further back and then taking advantage of his passing ability from a deeper lying role, and you just kind of throw that out the window in this game. It was just really really frustrating when you're looking for consistency. You need to have consistency. That's how last year we figured it out and we had a consistent setup. And here it's we just changed things again, and I just don't understand why. And obviously it didn't work.
Right. Jason asked the same question in the chat.
Yeah.
I'm curious, why do we have to change the formation so much? We did our away end episode with Betts from Cue the Smoke and the Brickyard Battalion on this one. We both, and Ryan talked about how both teams really struggle to score. So to come out here without a striker and, such a defensive setup and posture, I think was truly what kind of set a lot of the RFC fan base off in this one.
I agree. Like, I was just really like confused. It doesn't make any sense to me. Having struggling to score. We've started to do better with, like, Deco's gotten better the last few weeks. Noah playing off of him, Maxi in a deeper role. Like, it seemed like that was giving us the best chance of getting goals since we're having so much trouble breaking teams down. And then we added a bunch of extra midfielders. And, like I think Ryan had said in his like Good, Bad, and Uglies, like the midfield, there was no midfield dominance. So you have these extra midfielders in there, and it didn't equate to or amount to anything. So,
yeah, well said. Jason followed up with, I get people have to rest, but the formation doesn't need to always change so much. Yeah. Is this could this just be a case of things aren't working, let's try to keep shaking it up till something sticks? But, my biggest takeaway with that is kind of like you said, Noah and Chico finally seem to start clicking a little bit and, getting in and amongst the goals. Why take one of those two out that have really kind of sparked this team going forward?
Yeah, I don't know. And it seems like that's what Condo's trying to do is, try to figure out. I think going back again to another Good, Bad, and Ugly or comment there, I think Leo, or I think it was RFC in 3, like the spaghetti not sticking or something along those lines. Like, yeah, like you're throwing all this stuff at the wall and like nothing's sticking, and you can't figure out what your formation is, and you have to figure that out. I'm a big supporter of, like, you need your formation, you need your setup, and that you can fit the players into. And then if you have a couple of positions where maybe you have like a some questions to answer, right? Is it who should play, who shouldn't play? But you have to have the setup first of how you want to play, and it doesn't seem like we have that right now.
For sure. Ewan adds in the chat, to be honest, Jason, Kano is only in his second year as a head coach. I'd expect such things. He's got to select the team. He's got to make in-game adjustments that set this team up for success. How much of this do you put on Kano as far as not, as far as constantly jumbling this lineup and shaking things up versus trying to, get something to work consistently? And when you finally saw some glimmers of hope going on and changing it, especially against a team that struggles to score, and Indy was a team that also was conceding a lot of goals.
Right. Yeah, no, it's definitely a lot of it's on Kano for this game particularly. And yeah, you're right. Like, Indy hasn't been defending well, and then you go and do this and play. You could say play more defensive, or at least add those extra midfielders. And it this doesn't make sense. And you're changing things up, and I feel like it almost comes across like desperation of, we're not getting the results, so we need to keep changing things. But I would say like the last two games, sure. Again, against Portland, who's League One, but 4-1. So we did what we were probably supposed to do against them in that game, especially because they were rotated. And then Birmingham wasn't a great performance, so we still got the 1-1 result. And I think there are a couple of promising things in there. So to kind of completely go away from that in this game again just makes no sense to me.
For sure. Andrew Quadros in the chat says, feels like we were starting to get close to figuring things out, and then Connor decides to throw a huge wrench into this one with this lineup. I think last year a lot of us kind of looked at this Indy away matchup ahead of the first Hartford Derby of they rested a lot of people, they really wanted to go and get the Derby win, but the biggest, I think, omission for me starting was Chico, and kind of seeing him not in there when he's finally starting to click. Strikers need to be in form and need to get in form. So to kind of take him out and only give him that, little run at the end, which he had a chance, that he just launched over the bar. But one player who you want to keep firing, especially with JJ returning to fitness, would be Chico. So that was, I think, for me, my biggest surprise of not being in there.
Right. Yeah. No, I totally agree.
So I think the other one was Sanchez. A lot of people were calling for him to get on there early, but I could see him kind of getting a break as he's played very, very heavy minutes, but just not a lot of good stuff. And like Martin says, and we all said last year, to a point of nauseam with this one, resting for the Derby is not an excuse. That was not a midweek game, and they have a week to get ready. Hartford has a midweek game, so unless there was something out there with Chico that he could not go a full 60 here. So for me, this one just literally makes no sense.
Yeah, and even so, like, even if he couldn't go like a full 90 or 60, whatever, I mean, play him in the first half, bring JJ on second half or something, like play one of them. Obviously we would always assume JJ wasn't going to start. First game back on the bench, right? Or maybe second game. I know he didn't play last game, but like even if Chico couldn't go the whole game, just start him. Like why would you start this way? Just start him and take him out early if you need to.
Right.
And then you can bring JJ on.
For sure. Totally agree with you on that one. We've got a lot of like bigger issue Kano GM versus the coach stuff going on in the chat right now. I think is a kind of a separate, conversation. We can get to that a little bit later on in this one. But, first half starts. Maxi had probably the best chance. It was somewhere between 10 and 15 minutes in with that shot from outside the box. He took 2 long puck shots early that, that one probably had the best chance of, maybe finding the back of the net. But what'd you make of the first half and the early goings in this one?
Yeah, I mean, it was pretty terrible from us. Couldn't get anything going attacking wise, other than those Maxi chances, really, like you said. And don't blame Maxi for taking those shots. Like, you don't have a striker to really occupy the center backs and be in the box. So, like, might as well try. And he got kind of close, I think, with one of the curling efforts there. But yeah, like again, midfield was just overall all over the place, and we just didn't look good at all.
For sure. First half stats for this one, we actually dominated possession 60 to 40%, outshot Indy 3-1, no shots on target, which continued in the second half. We completed 147 passes at 81% to just 72 passes at 62 for Indy. They committed 7 fouls. We committed 9, 3 corners apiece for both teams. Matt, put on your coaching cap for a second. We had the 3 corners in the first half. We had... I'll pull it up later for the second half. We continued to kick the ball near post on corners with players like Mabika, Yao, and Nodarse at the back post. What is going on set pieces with this team?
I don't know. We need a set piece coach or someone else to come in and handle set pieces, I guess. I don't know if that's in the budget, but I don't know. The near post ones confuse me. I know at times we were going near post to Rio, which made absolutely no sense when you have Frank and, I'm in Mabika in there a lot. And, you have tall guys. Frank got goals, like a few off of set pieces last year. And you'd assume that Mabika could do the same this year. And, no, Sarah's right. It pissed me off too. I don't know what they're doing. They changed it up. Might have been last game. I know recently they changed it up and we're doing a lot of like short corners and trying to do different stuff, and that didn't work. But still, I wouldn't revert back to the near post stuff. It's not working.
There's nobody there. There's nobody there.
There's no one there, or you're sending like Rio and they're gonna get out jumped by somebody, or like I don't know. You gotta come up with something else. Set some good picks in there. Maybe I know you coach basketball. Maybe you can help them out with how to set the proper picks. From basketball, set that up in the box so that they can get people open, or even like football. I've heard of coaches looking at football and how wide receivers set screens, try not to be illegal screens and stuff to get people free. We gotta do something. We gotta get people free. We gotta get Frank or Mabika free and just get them the ball. And I don't know. I don't know how we do that.
It would make the most sense. They're normally the 2 tallest guys on the pitch on either team. So, like, why not try to get it somewhere near either one of their heads? We've seen Frank with success with that last season.
Right. Yeah. And, like, we've scored a couple goals this year where it's kind of been like a scramble after, like, a free kick. I know the first game against Portland up in Lewiston, we did that. It's like a long free kick from, like, the halfway line, and we kind of bounced around and got a kick. But, yeah, we're not heading the ball in off of corners. And I just don't. I don't get it. I don't have an answer.
Anything on
close,
target.
We're not even getting close or getting anything on target. It's either too close to the goalkeeper. I think Quizera took one this last game, and it was like he thought he was Juan David Torres. He was trying Olympicos at one point. Like, I don't know what the hell they're doing.
Nope. Totally agree with you there. Let's talk. I guess you could kind of call it a set piece. If you follow Kano on any of the socials, he loves to share a lot of PSG stuff. And we saw the opening kickoff sail deep into the opposition out of bounds, to try to press forward. I hate that. I think it's PSG doesn't even score off of it. You're inviting teams to play out of the back and get your press set up. But like, what do you make of that? I think it's some kind of fad trend right now, and people are trying it at different levels. But I've very rarely seen it turn out successfully.
Yeah, I don't mind it. Like, I get the idea of what you're trying to do. Like you were saying, like you're trying to pin the other team back, make them play out from the back. Or, I mean, I guess in theory they could just, well, if we kick it out for a throw in, yeah, they got to throw it in. If it goes out for a goal kick, they can just kick it back your way. But yeah, I don't mind. I get what they're trying to do, but you got to press better in order for that to work. And
for sure,
you're not pressing well enough. So what's the point at that point? Like, I get you're trying to play in their half and have them play on their own end, and depending on the opponent too, like certain teams definitely don't want to play out from the back. So I wonder how much that goes into it as well. But although it seems like he's been doing it every game for a while now, but yeah, I don't know. It's not. I mean, the alternative is just try to build up, and we haven't done well in possession either. So like whatever. I mean, why not try it? I guess keep trying stuff.
I don't know.
We can do.
Yep. So I read those first half stats, and they were actually pretty favorable for Rhode Island FC. And Martin says in the chat, I'm normally a pretty positive person. I always think we're going to win, but I'm struggling to find a positive at the moment. After that first half, what was your feeling? Like, neither team was really in it. Neither team with really, a big chance outside maybe that Maxi far hit. But did you feel like we could still win this one at halftime?
My cat's coming up to get in the pod.
There we
go. Yeah, I was hopeful because I was like, we have to change something, and hopefully it's going to be at halftime, which it wasn't. Ended up being 10 minutes into halftime. But yeah, I was like, well, we're going to bring JJ on and/or Dikwa at some point, right? And maybe we'll turn things around. Like, 80 didn't look that good, so I thought like maybe we had a shot there, but that was really the only hope. It wasn't because of anything we did in the first half. It was, we were so bad that Kano has to change something. So maybe we'll bring some guys on that probably should be on the field and maybe have a chance. But that was my only hope.
Unfortunately, we saw that kind of come to a change 10 minutes into the second half as Indy 11 broke the seal and got on the board first for the only goal of this one. So let's take a look at that.
Operational efficiencies. Amo got in the passing lane. One touch finds Blake. Quinn makes the overlapping run. Blake finds him. Quinn plays it across. All the way through and finds the back of the net. Indy 11 has the opening goal of the match in minute number 56. Let's see if it's rainproof. Time to cue the smoke in Indianapolis.
Get the ball to Quinn. That was the key. They had just done it twice, and we're talking about get that ball to him. He's going to get it end line, serve that ball across. Great play, great goal. Look at Quinn, one touch. He sees the play, puts it in front. What a fantastic play by Indy 11, and they were knocking on the door and got rewarded for it.
And frankly, Romario Williams took the more difficult angle. He had 9 feet to his right.
He did.
He cut it back across. And
so normally solid Rio Hope Gund gets absolutely caught with it playing out of the back, and just an absolute terrible turnover there. After the turnover, I think you see kind of a calamity of errors, and I think it was kind of defenders thinking the ball was going to get advanced up the pitch as Yao, Frank, and Mabika are all kind of, flat-footed, stuck to their spots on that one, and it's just kind of a free, play into the box and a good peel back and a good finish by the former Hartford player, Romario Williams there. But give me your thoughts on this goal, Hans.
Yeah, I mean, that was unfortunate for Rio. Terrible error to make there. And it sucks because, he's been really good for us, I would say, like defensively in particular. Since
we always talk about, Ryan and I both say, like, he'd be my first name on the defensive team sheet as far as picking a center back to get out there.
Yeah, I think he's good playing as like a wide center back and like a 3 or like a defensive right back. But in a 4. But yeah, he's really good, and so frustrating to see that happen from him. And then everyone got caught flat-footed, like you said. And like India's good play. Like despite them, it's almost kind of like us. Like they have some good attacking players, and like
Sure.
we do too. And it hasn't.
I think these are two very similar teams. You
Yeah.
know, as far as this one, the commentators said it throughout. I think we were talking, the play-by-play guy was phenomenal, and color guy just didn't really know, you know,
Yeah, don't
ball
get
at
me
all.
started.
But
Yeah.
just like I said, a terrible moment.
Yeah, I was going to say the announcers, don't get me started. I couldn't stand the announcers, but Tyler, distracting me. No, so yeah, they have quality players like Jack Blake is a good attacking midfielder. Aiden Quinn's like a legend in the USL. He's like been in the USL forever. He's got the assist there, and then you know Romario Williams is from Hartford, but they have other good players too. So yeah, give them an opportunity in that area where they don't have to like build up and try to or try to break you down. You just give them the ball, quick turnover right outside your 18. They have enough quality there to kill you, and they did. So
yeah, just a tough moment, and I think the rest of the second half kind of played out with both teams really not looking to get in amongst the goals until RIFC with maybe the last 10 minutes or so. It looks like we kind of turned it on a little bit. Let's talk a little bit about substitutes in this one, as that was kind of one of the, I think, seen by positives by people. Chico comes on to the 54th. So you're saying he can play almost a full half. Again, goes back to our starting points of, well, why didn't he start? Right. Sanchez comes on the 71st, along with Danny Rivera, JJ Williams, and then Hugo Baccarat makes his debut in the 77th. But let's talk Hugo. Let's try to go a little bit positive. He had that one really nice run that he went in there on, and just couldn't pick out. I think that was the pass to Chico that he slotted over the bar. What'd you make of him in his debut?
Yeah, I mean, it was only like 13. Well, I think it was 6 of stoppage time. Well, I guess 19, 20 minutes total, right, including stoppage time. So I mean, there's not a lot I think you can take from that, but he did look really good, look promising. He looks like a good player. Looks like someone who could potentially be a starter. I think Sarah had mentioned again going back to the socials or the Discord that he, his run that he made forward, which I called like a Frank de Darce run, because Frank does that once in a while. It's one of the good things Frank can do when he goes forward, and sometimes he looks like an idiot going forward. But anyway, no, Hugo was good. I thought he looked good in the ball. He looked good defensively. He's tall, another tall guy we can add in there to maybe not get corners too.
Sure.
But yeah, no, he looked good, and so I definitely want to see more of him. Yeah, I like him a lot, and I like him especially. I apologize to Ryan too, but I like him especially because he knows Pau Torres from Villa, who was at Villarreal with him way back in their youth. So, there
you go. Always drawing those connections. I thought you were gonna go Villa with the spaghetti not sticking in the spaghetti junction over there and all that.
Oh yeah, right.
But Sarah brought up a good point too. Hugo and JJ fighting was amusing. Jason followed up with, what was that about? Seems like some big attitudes butting heads. Pretty good to see though. Hugo getting his first action in there. JJ coming back, and then Hugo was breaking lines, getting forward, and kind of gave JJ the business a little bit after one of them, and kind of good to see that, standing up for himself and trying to get a little spark into this team.
Right, yeah, good to see him fired up. I mean, even early in the season, we were saying the same about Maxi. We're playing badly, and Maxi was in everyone's face, and obviously he's like a veteran player, but still his first year on the team. So even more impressive, I think, for Hugo. First year on the team, young player, to really be getting into people. So I think they can be positive from that. So people look at that stuff and say, the players are arguing, it's a negative. But I think it's a good thing.
For sure. Good seeing JJ back out there as well. I know his timeline as far as return, we had heard so many different things. So good seeing him, finally getting back out there. Good seeing the hold-up play, the balls put up to him bringing him down and kind of inviting people to make runs off of it. Something I think we've desperately missed. I think that could definitely unlock Chico going forward and Noah as well. But it's just going to be, with all these guys kind of coming back to fitness, what are the right pieces and how do you kind of slot them in? And I know you've got some slides later to, talk a little bit about that. But the like Scott says, lovely seeing JJ at long last. Missed the height and the physicality. It's just an element that I think many of us have been missing. Did not translate to goals. Also worth noting, it did not really translate to goals when he was on the pitch early on this season, as we were still kind of struggling to score. But Jason kind of nailed it. I need to get some consistency, and we've got this carousel of players returning now, and hopefully that can lead to some. It's just going to be who's going to go out there and really kind of earn their spot in this RIFC team.
Yeah, for sure. I peeked in the comments. I saw Sarah comment about Hugo taking over for Frank, and I feel betrayed. But I think that's what it said anyway. They can both play. Frank will play right back.
It's going to be interesting to see how this all kind of works itself out, because there are a lot of like pieces, and we will get to that later on with slides. But second half stats for this one: RIFC with 57% possession in the second half. Outshot Indy 6-5. Again, though, 0 shots on target. Indy had 2 on target, 1 big chance. They finished it. Indy, again, in the double digits on passing, with only 87 passes at 64% in the second half to 134 at 73 for RIFC. Indy committed 8 fouls in the second half. We committed 6, 2 corners apiece. And again, we just could not find one of the big guys. But overall takeaways on this one, Matt, how loud are the alarm bells ringing for this team right now?
Yeah, they're getting louder. I think, again, I think Jason just said, we need consistency, and we don't have it. And we need consistency in performances and our setup. And I think after this game, it was just terrible. And I coming into it, I was thinking we'd see something good. I've been hopeful all year long, and it just hasn't happened. And you're in the second half of the season now, and you start to doubt, is this team going to figure things out, or is it just going to be again, a bunch of throwing stuff at the wall and trying to see what sticks, and nothing sticks, and then, or maybe you figure stuff out and it's too late, and you get an 8 seed. Even if you make the playoffs, you got to go to Louisville or Charleston. I mean, I know we beat Louisville and Charleston on the road last year, but no guarantees to do that again. That was a very tough thing to do. So that's even if you get in, so
right.
The alarm bell is definitely going off, and pressure is definitely coming up, especially with, the big game coming up next weekend.
Well, I think kind of, looking at that and looking at us on 16 points, Hartford behind us at 12, 3 games in hand. That is a big sticking point. And, it shows you how this back-to-back with Hartford is really quite crucial. I know people were joking in the chat about prioritizing the Jägermeister Cup, like my beloved Tottenham. And maybe we can fast track that as our only way to success. Maybe Kano always wins something in his second year, and that could be the only route. But Don brings up a good point in the chat. This team does not move well with or without the ball. They seem to be standing still at times. And big shout out to Andrew Quadros and Timmy Sclafani in the latest episode of Double Pivot, as they highlighted that as when a player like Maxi or Clay has the ball, 15, 20 yards outside the box, there is actually nobody forward for them to pass the ball to. There's nobody making runs. There's nobody in channels. There's a lot of people standing still, flat-footed, that are just letting themselves be marked very easy. And we saw that again in Indy.
Yeah, that's definitely one of the reasons Kano's yelling all game long, screaming at them from the sidelines. I know his laugh when Kano got sent off and was on the roof. Dequa said that he only realized something was going on when the bench was quiet, and he was basically he and the players weren't getting yelled at. And then he turned around and was like, "Oh, Kano's not there." But they gotta be better off the ball. They gotta be better at everything, really. But not enough movement, not enough intensity, and
I think one of the things that I mentioned post Portland was there was a very quick throw-in that was taken by Quizera after a Portland defensive lapse, and it ended up leading to a goal. But we saw time and time again last night in Indy where a throw-in would go out of bounds. The first guy would pick it up, put it down, wait for somebody else, usually Clay, to take a long throw to come in. But let's get that ball going in. Let's go a lot quicker. We looked very slow last night, kind of like we did earlier versus Birmingham.
Yeah, and Cano's talked about wanting to play faster. I mean, that's why he got sent off against Portland, was for arguing with the ref about, not throw-ins, but like free kicks and not letting us play quickly. So you would think that they would still have it on their mind and still try to play with that kind of urgency, whether it be like a quick free kick when it's appropriate to do so, and quick throw-ins. And it's just not. Yeah, it wasn't happening. They're just taking their time. I don't get it. Only time to take your time in a throw-in is if it's going to be a Clay throwing into the box, like if he's we're in that end of the field. Other than that, just go quickly.
Yeah.
Catch these guys on the back foot, because you can't break them down when you have the ball in possession regularly. So, like, the best way to do it is to quick throw in, catch them off guard.
That would really be a nice piece of caviar to add to this team if you're able to get the speed going quickly and kind of keep it going. But we just time and time again see this team revert back to old ways, and like somebody mentioned earlier in the chat, just things that do not work. And it's tough to watch. It's tough to watch the same players make the same mistakes and the same players kind of just do the same things. And there hasn't been much player progression from last season to this season. Has anyone really, kind of jumped off the table at you as far as they've really kind of stepped their game up from last season?
No.
No, right?
Anyone returning? Like, no. And I think even doing you one better, I don't think anyone's performed as well as it did last season. I mean, maybe Clay,
sure.
Arguably off the top of my head, but thinking about it, I don't think anyone. I mean, like Koke. I mean, I guess we forget about goalkeeper. I guess Koke is probably playing a little bit better before he got hurt than he did last year. But for the most part, the rest of the team, like, not only are they not jumping out, I don't think they're even playing as well as they did a year ago. Yeah,
you get Jason backing you there, and my only caveat to that is availability. You need availability. Like he was doing better, like Martin says, but we need you on the pitch. We need that continue, and I don't think goalkeeping is by any stretch of the means the biggest need on this team right now.
Right. No, I mean, we have two solid goalkeepers. Quick note on Jackson. I thought he's been getting better as he's played more and more games. I definitely thought he was shaky early on when he came in for Koke after the injury, but he's been getting better. And I know we had that moment in the second half where my guy Frank had one of the worst back passes I've ever seen.
Oh my goodness!
Where he was going to kick it straight out of bounds. Even Frank, I think, put his hands on his head like, "Oh shit!"
As soon as he kicked it, he went.
Yeah, yeah.
Like John Moran throwing the grenade.
Yeah, and then Jackson did well. He got around. He took a nice touch around the defender, took a couple touches and got out of there. But even that though, more sloppy play from Frank, and sloppy play all around.
Yeah, that's a move you've seen from Jackson earlier in the season at home, where he did that nice, calm, collected turn. I know Paul told us he did that in a national championship game, so that's something he does have in his bag, and he's composed when he does do it. But overall, I think kind of what we predicted in the away end, a very tough watch, as both teams really not playing good football right now. And I think we just kind of gave them that one good chance, and it was our own demise that led to that one goal.
Yeah.
Any final thoughts you have on this one, Hans?
No, just like you said, tough watch. Deflating, really. I mean, again, came into it as I do every game, excited to see, hey, his team finally going to do put forth a good performance and do something, and then just completely deflating. And the lineup, as we said, was a major downer when it came out, and then it just kind of ended up, being down about it. Ended up being the correct because we sucked. So it was not fun. Not fun at all.
I think that this could have been a really big turning point in the season, as we could have went out there against a team that's struggling, picked up 3 points on the road, rolled into 2 matches against a regional rival, and really kind of spring vaulted up the table and through the cup competition with this one. But the lack of urgency, the lack of speed was really deflating. I think that's the word, like you said, and really tough to watch. Yeah,
and just to say, there have been moments like that this season where you think oh, okay, we're May 3rd, we're starting at home, right? We've had all these games on the road, and we're gonna play well at home, and then we have a bad home record, and like that never
We have a bad
improves.
overall record right
Yeah,
now.
bad
That's
overall
it.
record, but coming into it, it was like, okay, like we kind of had somewhat of a built-in excuse of like, oh, we don't have our home yet. We're on the road for like 6-7 games to start the year, but we go home and then doesn't turn around and doesn't improve, and then here it was like you beat Portland, okay, now we're going to turn things around. You kind of have like a meh type performance against Birmingham, and then here it's like, okay, we got to get some momentum. We're going to go into playing Hartford back to back at home, like 2 huge games, and then like this happens. So it's just kind of, for at least for me, like you keep telling yourself, like, okay, this is where we're going to turn things around, and it
Right.
just doesn't happen.
So I think, and this will mostly be bigger picture, kind of going forward with this chat. But I think last year, and maybe it was the ignorance of just like not knowing so much about the league, the opponents, the team. But I think a lot of us kind of had that feeling that, this is a pretty good team, and I think we got goals coming, and we can turn this around. But I'm not feeling that right now. I think it's going to be a long rest of the summer for this team, and it could only get longer by the next 2 matches.
Yeah, it definitely looks that way. Yeah, afraid to think of the next 2. Yeah, I don't want to think about the next 2 games either, because it's you can't lose those, and it's getting to the point. I think you mentioned earlier the people in the chat talking about the Jaeger, like, yeah, well, I mean, we're getting close to the point where really the only thing that matters, or at least like the biggest games of the season, are these games against Hartford, and then like the Jaeger, if we can advance and do that. Like it seems like the USL season is slowly kind of getting away from us. Like 16 points in 16 games, like point a game is awful. Like that's not good enough. You're not making the playoffs with that. You do that last year and you finished with 34 points. It was 34 games last year, and
Right.
you had like 51 points last year. So you're way off pace for that. Yeah, it's just been awful, and I don't. I'm losing. I'm losing some faith that we're going to turn it around. I've always been positive that, or had positive thoughts of like we're going to be able to turn things around, but as time goes on, as season goes on, you're getting less and less confident of that happening.
For sure. Don says he thinks we're going to lose the first and win the second against Hartford. If you had to put a percentage on us winning both of those Hartford games, what would you do it, Hans? And I'll give you time to stew on it, because Quadro says you said to him after the Legion game that you weren't worried about Hartford. They just beat Detroit. How you feeling now?
Yeah, a little more worried than I was after the Legion game. Not even just because of beating Detroit, but just they look good in attack. And Jack Paniotu looks like he's back for them as well. He was on the bench this last game because he's been out for a while with injury. I don't remember what the injury was, but so that'll be interesting to see if he plays. I bet he does, because I bet he'll get some minutes. I think they're playing on Wednesday, so I bet he'll get some minutes on Wednesday and then play against us on the Saturday. And I'm concerned. I'm concerned about the Hartford game. It's more that like we've only played them twice, but we've never lost to them. No. We never lost to them, and I don't want to start now, and especially not at home. Like you cannot let them.
Their first trip to Tidewater needs to be a Hartford Athletic loss. Point blank. And also, period.
Right, and you're going to have a lot of fans there as well, presumably. Like it's going to be marketed.
We're heading close to a sellout, right?
Right, and it's going to be It's marketed obviously as a derby. It's like a big thing. You're going to get a lot of people there, and like look, I think some of the casual people there are just going to be, they're there for the experience of going to a game. Oh, it's a new stadium. Check out the food, whatever. But still, you want to have a good performance, and you want to get a win and be exciting, and like in order to get some of those people to come back and be more interested. And if you lose against your rival at home or perform a bad performance, like not only is that obviously going to piss all of us off, and people in Defiance and you guys in 116 and everyone, but it's also not good for the overall the casual fans, the brand.
Yeah, I mean, you can only have so many games of people taking pictures of food next to their bum, unless it's you, Matt Hands, which would be totally fine. But you want fans to come in and really kind of back this team and be supportive of this team. And if you're going to try to build up a local or regional rivalry like this, you're really going to perform on the pitch to do it.
Yeah, and I think there's been a lot of focus on the stadium from the front office, and then rightfully so. I get it. It's one of the better stadiums in the league. It's a big story opening the stadium, and I think they were hoping that the team was going to do well and kind of keep doing what they did second half and into the playoffs last year, and continue to build that excitement not only through the marketing of again the Hartford stuff, or when we played the Revs, or the theme nights and the regular typical marketing that they do. You also hope that the team's doing well, and there's a playoff team, there's a contender. And if you're not going to be that, it just it just gets tough. And Tyler's right, running out of chances to hook the casuals. Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
That's a big point. That's a really good shout by Tyler there, because you want eventually to add on to the stadium to get it up to 16,000 to get you in USL Premier or whatever they're going to call it. And attendance has not been great at these home games outside of the fireworks and opening day, the Revs, and so you got to market these local ones as big, and you got to perform to get people coming back in the door.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And they haven't been doing that. So, again, we'll always be there, but if you want to grow the team, you got to have the casual fans there. You got to have the soccer moms, right, and their families with their kids, and they might still go to a game a year, but you got to build the momentum on the field to get the crowd into it and wanting to come back, and not happening.
I think Ewan's got a funny one in here. I'd focus on marketing games with good product, i.e. a Charleston or Louisville, where the product's guaranteed to be good. Although Ewan did say earlier in the chat that those teams would do unspeakable things to this RIFC team right now. Definitely on a road playoff game. So I mean, we weren't awful.
We weren't awful in Louisville. It wasn't great, but we still lost. But
things have definitely kind of changed going on since then. If you've stuck with us so far, make sure you smash that like button if you haven't already. It's time for Slides by Matt Hands. So let's start it off, Mr. Hands.
Yeah, very low effort slides here, but speaking about the system that we're playing, and I had to go with the Twelman gift. What are we doing? Despite that team he used to play for, I was a big fan of his. What are we doing? What are we doing with our lineup, with our setup, with our roster? Because clearly it's not working. So just move ahead to the next one. Just very quick squad composition. When you look at who we have in the squad, like top to bottom, we have a lack of wingers, wide attacking players. So really the only one that we're comfortable playing there, Tyler, the only one that we're comfortable with, I guess Quizera is kind of like an attacking winger. Noah could play out there, but obviously he's much, much better centrally. So recently before this Indy game, we had kind of gone to like a 4-2-3-1. We didn't have the wide players to do that. And then you look at defensively and in the midfield, we have a lot of center backs now, especially since signing Mabika and Rio, and then also Hugo coming back now. So we've got a lot of center backs. Of course, center mids, we have like 6 guys who can play in central midfield. Possibly more, but arguably if you want to include like Ang King and Brito in there, but
sure.
Even aside from them, you got a bunch of guys, and then you got two actual true strikers in JJ and Dequa. So I kind of was thinking about how should we set up to get the best out of the squad, have the most cover at different positions. So if you want to move to the next, this is the last one.
Before I go there, I want to go back to the chat, as a lot of people are kind of calling out the Kano and putting this team together and eventually selecting this team for performance each match day. But Don says all the blame on Kano as he put this team together. GM and coach is too much for him. We're halfway through the season. Are you surprised we haven't seen another player come in the door to kind of aid in the creativity or attack of this team?
Yeah, a little bit. I looked back recently. I know around by this time last season, it was early last season, I feel like we brought Jack P in on loan. Dugan, I think, came in August 3rd last year. So, like, there's still, I guess, time. You would think a couple weeks maybe over the next couple weeks to try to bring someone in. I would probably, I mean, again, it all depends on kind of how we want to play. But, yeah, if we could bring in someone in on loan, like a winger, potentially, if we wanted to go back to that double pivot, which I'm actually not suggesting that we do. But also, yeah, you and saying there's no money, and you know, if that's the case, like, it's fine because like we have players who are supposed to be good, like or
Sure.
are good in theory.
And were good
like,
last season, right?
Right, like we have players who were good last season, and this is the thing we talk about, like our expectations coming into the year. Like for me, and I think for a lot of us, we were thinking we should be that third team in the conference, or fighting for as that third team outside of Louisville and Charleston. We should be up there and probably trying to get a home playoff game, finishing third or fourth, because we saw what the team did last year. We basically brought everyone back except for the really two impact players were Turnbull and Dugan. And Turnbull, as much as I love Turnbull, towards the end of the season was getting less playing time because they were moving Frank out to right wing back. And then, unfortunately, you know, Turnbull got hurt, I think, in the first playoff game against Indy. So a lot of that run was with, you know, Frank in that spot.
Sure.
And then obviously Morris Dugan, who we always knew, you know, he was on loan. He was going to go back to Minnesota, who we didn't really, I mean, we got Hugo and he's been out, but we've kind of replaced that with Aime and Rio. So the main thing is, you know, we had these expectations because we had these players who we saw do it last year. And we added Maxi Rodriguez, who was like a first team all league player last year, into the midfield, and into a midfield that kind of lacked a bit of creativity. And like big passing range, because, you know, it was Ibarra, Herva, Holstad, and, you know, Ibarra much better, you know, further back, kind of shielding the back line. Herva and Holstad kind of like playing as number 8s and kind of running up and down box to box and, you know, causing the turnovers. But we added someone who should be able to help us in possession, especially in Maxi, who's also a Bulldog in there. And so you kind of had this expectation of we're going to go and, you know, we should be one of those top teams, and it just hasn't happened. And yeah, we have the players, and again, it goes down to Kano needing to figure out how to get the best out of these guys and put them in the right positions to succeed, and we haven't done it.
Well said.
So yeah, so I just kind of if we can see, I think for the players that we have, 5-3-2, which is what we did last year, and kind of what we did this last game, even though the players weren't in kind of out of position, I would say, is probably the best thing that we could do, the best setup. So obviously in goal, you got Koke and you got Jackson Lee behind him. So that's fine. That's great. You know, and again, this is more about like who you have and who you have for cover. So you go to left wing back, Aldair and Quizera, those two guys that can fit in there. You might want to switch them out depending on who you're playing against. You want to be more defensive, more attacking. Quizera's on international duty at times, so he's not available. So you need someone else there. You got two options there. The back three, I mean, because of the positive, even though it was 20 minutes or so from Hugo, we're also positive on him. I threw him in there. Obviously, this can up for debate for who starts in these roles. This is kind of just who I threw in, but the point is that you have the cover. So Hugo, Mabika Yao, you got Stoneman and Rio, who can also, you know, again, when healthy, Stoneman and Rio. Also, Frank can move into the back line. If he's starting, though, at right wing back, you can have him at right wing back like I have here with Rovira behind him. Go to the midfield, Maxi, Ibarra, and Holstad is what I want to see. But again, you have Hervo, Okiyoshi, and Amos. So you have 6 guys, 3 spots. Perfect backup, perfect rotation. Someone's not performing. They have guys that can compete for those spots. I would say particularly Amos and Zach, more so than Taimu, who I think is still needs to grow as a player. But again, you have a lot of cover there. And then up front, you know, I have Noah. He kind of looks like a striker. But again, it's more of that free role that Noah was doing last year. I think Brito and Ang King are guys that I wouldn't say you'd want to replace him, but, you know, they can come on late in games in that role if need be. And then, you know, JJ and Dikwa as your actual true striker up there. So, yeah, I think this is basically what the best option would be for us based on who's in the squad. And I feel like this is kind of how Kano, it seems like it's how he was trying to build the team. Jason saying swap out. Yeah, I wouldn't have a problem swapping out Yao and Rio. I think that, again, up for debate there. I do like Rio in that spot. Yao and Mabika might be kind of redundant as two kind of big, strong players. You might want to have a more, like a quicker, better one-on-one defender like Rio. So sure.
And I also like Rio better on the right than seeing him last night on the left. I think his passing range is a little bit better being a right-footed player.
Yeah, I was confused seeing him on the left, although I then remembered, I think his first game with us when he came on as a sub, he came on the left. But since then, he's been on the right, which is probably where he needs to be. So, I definitely wouldn't have a problem with him playing over Yao here. Or even, I probably don't want him on the left, I was going to say, on the left for Hugo. But again, the point is there's options there, right?
Sure.
You have the cover there. And so, that's basically all this really is, again, very, very low effort slides, but I kind of felt the urge to do them today. So,
very well done, Hans. You had a lot of good comments about that lineup in the chat. So that is always, good to see there. But one thing I wanted to address, and we heard it last night on FQB Space, and we saw it in the RIFC Nation Facebook group. Some people are turning to say, you know what? Maxi was supposed to come in and make such a big difference. He should be the one dropped to the bench. I don't see it. I think he's been one of our bright spots this season. Let us know in the chat your opinion. But people are – I think it's a very casual take. I think pulling Maxi out of this 11 is a big mistake as one of the few guys that's really found the back of the net for this team.
Yeah, I agree. And it kind of goes back to – oh, yeah, no problem, Martin. It goes back to – we had kind of heard about it, around or a little bit before, I think, the final last year. And I still remember, going back to the airport with Quadros and Timmy, we were all talking about, we had that, as Ryan termed it, adult midfield of, Ibarra, Zach, and Clay. And it was like, okay, who's Maxi going to replace him there? And that was always the debate. I think I had him playing instead of Zach. But, I think if you play a midfield three like that, like, you got to have Maxi in there. He's been, like you said, he's been one of our better players. When he's been able to get forward, he's scored on, making his kind of late runs. I think about the goal against the Revs, goals like that. But also he's shown he can do it playing further back and being a more creative player, creative passer. I think he should start. And Jason. Yeah, I don't think
Jason's got a good point saying I don't think Maxi should go to the bench, but I think forcing him to play that, kind of 10 role early on this season hurt Noah. Early on in this one, definitely agree with that. And I think now that we've seen and now that we've heard the coaching staff say they want Noah to be playing more centrally, and having Maxi's passing range further back has really kind of unlocked Noah, which is also unlocked Chico. And then we see last night's lineup and it's like, oh, what is going on?
Yeah, and I was definitely wrong on that coming into the season because I wanted to see Maxi playing as more of a 10. And see what Martin said. I kind of wanted that, and I was totally wrong, obviously.
Yeah.
But I think
on paper it sounded great.
Yeah, because we saw Noah. Obviously he wasn't at his best, but we saw him play at wing back last year, particularly when Quizera was on like international duty. I think he played left wing back in the playoffs, if I'm not mistaken. But I kind of wanted that because I thought Maxi would be that more creative. He's not a creative, perfect creative number 10, but he was someone who I thought could help us get goals. But at this point, Martin's right. Like, it hurt our attack. And again, further goes back to we had Maxi further back and we had Noah as a 10, and we did it the last couple games, and we threw it out the window for this game for Connor only knows why. I don't know why. So
I think not starting Chico, I think is pretty questionable at best, and definitely you have to figure I don't think you see JJ start against Hartford only going 20 minutes or so. But it's tough. It's a tough pill to swallow.
Yeah, no, I think you start Chico and JJ. It's gonna be interesting. Like, I don't know what JJ. We don't know his health, right? Like, it's a calf injury. Like, sure, he's back now, but like, how careful do you have to be with that? Like, because he can re-aggravate and get a much worse injury potentially. Obviously, knock on wood, it doesn't happen. But I don't know. I don't know how healthy he is and how many minutes he's going to be able to give us. But if that's the case, you got to keep starting Chico and get him the consistency of playing and get him firing. Yeah, because he started to play well. Once JJ got hurt and Chico was starting to play, like he got a lot of the criticism and pressure, and I think that's what can come with being a striker, especially like the lone striker in a team that's not scoring goals. And there's criticism of his performances, which I think to a certain extent was warranted. Yeah, Quadros is right. He was in horrible form. And you kept playing him, and then he turned things around. I think he's been actually good, getting into good positions. Just hasn't always gotten the service. And then now you bench him. Like again, like I always try to be reasonable and caveat there that hey, maybe something was going on, but that's just me trying to like protect,
make sense of it,
right? And say like, is there something we don't know about? Because there's no other reason why. Like, there's no reason to do that unless there's something going on. So.
Yeah, I don't just like I said, tough pill to swallow. Tough result. Up next, we have Hartford in the league. Then we have Hartford in the cup. What are you really hoping to see Saturday?
A win. Actually, not even, man. I'm at this point, just don't lose. Like we can't lose to Hartford. We gotta get a draw at least. Obviously, I want to see a win. I'd love to see a great performance. But yeah, you can't lose. And I remember going back to last season, we weren't doing well, and we were going to go out to play at Hartford, and Defiance. Irvin talked to the players after the game before the Hartford away game, and was stressing the importance of it. And like I know the players know how important this game is to us. It's a nationally televised game on CBS. Like it's going to showcase the stadium. It's going to showcase the team. And if you go out there and don't perform, it's an even worse look. Like we already talked about. If we can pull off 2 wins. Yeah, we've already talked about having like bad, not having as good attendance and not drawing people in because of performances being a part of that. And I think if you now have a nationally televised game against your rival, if you don't perform well, it's catastrophic in my opinion. So yeah, we gotta go out there and at least have a good performance. At the bare minimum, get a draw. You cannot lose that game. Must win game, as some people like to say. Must win game.
I agree with you. Sarah says, "Yep, Hartford is a nationally televised game. They're playing up the rivalry. Let's not embarrass the state in this competition." Yeah. I think you're going to see a great atmosphere from the Defiance. I know Irvin and the board's got a lot of really good things planned for this one. So I think it'll translate to a good TV broadcast. Hopefully the team can kind of back it up with performance so things can kind of look that much better. And, like Jason said, if we can get, 2 wins, even just 1 win, if we can win on Saturday, I think it'll really kind of get people's spirits back up because we're all so low right now. Because a lot of us, we invest a lot of time in this team, You, myself, the rest of the Tide Talk crew spent a lot of time creating content. The Defiance board is at it daily, putting stuff together on and off the pitch in the community. You've got people, and Jason followed up with 2. It's got to be 2. But I think let's start with 1. Let's start there.
Yeah.
You get a lot of people that go to watch parties. You got a lot of people that follow this team, on the road. So, we really want to see that effort change, and we want to see things get corrected and head in the right direction.
Yeah, and the last thing to add in the Hartford games, I mean, as much as we want to obviously get that 1 win next weekend, you can argue, or actually, no, sorry, other way around. That win is the most important one because the Jägermeister one the following week we probably could draw.
Sure.
We definitely
things could go our way, and we'd be fine.
Yeah, like if we draw the Jaeger game, it's fine, because we will be through as group. Or like the only way that we don't win the group is if we lose to Hartford. So if we draw that game, even we're definitely going through as group winners, and so yeah, it puts even more spotlight on this weekend. A national game in the league, got to pick up those points in the league. So yeah, more important. Again, you want to win both, but if you had to pick one, it would be this weekend, I think.
For sure.
Weekend.
Any final thoughts you want to get off your chest, Mr. Hands, before we wrap this one up?
No, I don't think so. I mean, I'm just hoping the team can turn things around. You know, I feel like every week after a bad performance or a loss, like in my own head, like I'm down and negative, and then it gets closer to the weekend, and then I start to get positive again, which is why a lot of times in the pre-match lookout, why a lot of times in the pre-match lookout, I'll randomly be like, positive, because I'm like, oh, you know what, we get to play again, and I think that, and I'll find things to look at and say, like, oh, well, there's positives. Like maybe this week I'll probably be like, yeah, we got JJ back and Hugo looks good and it's a big game. The guys are going to step up, and like I'll always kind of have that positivity. I feel like, or maybe not always, but I seem to most of the time have it. But it's dwindling a little bit, and so I mean, they just got to turn things around. It's now or never, basically. Like you want to be a good team, you want to make the playoffs, you want to do something this season and be competitive. You got to turn around, and it's got to start now. Got to start with the derby. Massive game.
Well said, my friend. I think we're going to go out there and just handle business over the next 2 games for sure. But thank you to everyone who tuned in and spent their Sunday nights with us. Again, if you haven't already, make sure you hit that like button. But that'll wrap things up for this one. Remember, Tide Talk is more than just a podcast. You can find us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook for daily social media content. Click that link in the episode description to follow all of our accounts. I've been your host, Matt, for the other Matt. Thanks again for joining. We'll see you next time. And as always, up the Tide.